Hi everybody, I'm Tommy Scoville. This is the Tommy Scoville Show. I might talk a little quicker today because I don't want these to be 30-minute videos. So I've gotten some messages from people that say go as long as you want, we'll listen. I don't think the majority of you probably feel the same way. So we're going to try to keep them shorter than longer. None of us are going anywhere, right? We got a little time. So anyway, I got to do a little general housekeeping just real quickly. Number one, I've gotten a lot of emails and I appreciate every one of them. I'm going to answer every one of them. If I haven't got back to you yet, it's because I got a lot of them. So many so that I got a new email address. I kind of got to keep them separate if I could. So if you don't mind, if you have a question or there's something you want to tell me, please do, but if you could do it at the Tommy Scoville Show at gmail.com, the Tommy Scoville Show at gmail.com, as opposed to doing my personal email, that would be great. I would really appreciate that. Now, the other thing is that the time period that I've been talking about, during that time, I was married with a kid, and I obviously haven't mentioned that. And the reason is, even though the crimes are mine, I don't feel comfortable talking about that part of my son's life until he and I sit down and really go over with the whole thing, what I intend to say, and what he's comfortable with. They're not his sins, they're mine, but we're so close, and he's so happy with where I am in life. I don't know that that's something he wants to relive. I did what I could to insulate him from what was going on, but I'd be a fool, if I were to believe that, this didn't affect him. Thank God he really has turned into a great man, but that's something that I need to run by him. So until that happens, there will be big chunks I'm not talking about. Also, I was married to a woman, and I'm not going to make her relive anything painful on YouTube. She doesn't deserve that in any way, shape, or form. My ex-wife is a great woman and a tremendous mom, and had I not been a dirtbag, there's an excellent chance we'd still be married. I believe that. We made it a decade or more together, so I'm not going to do that to her. She doesn't deserve it. Honestly, I love the woman. I pray for her every day. She's not a bad person. It's not one of those situations where, I hate my ex. So I'm not doing that to her, and I hope you understand that. There will be times where, because the subject matter of relationships or other things come up, and then I will have to touch on it, but you're never going to hear details of this woman. She doesn't deserve that, okay? That's the general housekeeping for the day. And one other thing, I talk about own it all the time, right? Own it. You got to own your past. You have to own your mistakes and your failures. If you don't, you're not going to succeed. That being said, you also have to own your successes. Yesterday in the comment section, somebody was talking about crack cocaine, and if you've ever done it, it is a unbelievable drug for people to try to get off of. Very, very addicting, and it destroys a tremendous number of lives and kills a lot of people. So this gentleman said that, he's really lucky that he's off that. And that's a word we use a lot, lucky. But the truth is, it is a very small element of the success in rehab, in getting sober. Luck plays such a small part. If you're going to own the bad parts of your past, you also have to own the successes. Occasionally, you have to puff your chest out a little bit. It's the nature of what we do. If you own the past and the negative, but you don't really celebrate and own the success, you're going to fail. I'm not saying this gentleman's going to, but I'm saying that it's important that we stick our chest out and that we're proud of what we've done. It's such a huge part of being happy and sober, not white knuckling it. So, and the reason I bring this up is not so much because of him, but because there's going to be people who think I brag about parts of my life. And I'm proud of them. I try not to brag, I really do, but I'm proud of the successes. And I'm telling you about the failures, right? You're going to hear about all of them. I own them. I also own my successes. And the tools you're going to be learning about through the channel are tools that apply to everything. And the proof of that is, I had 2 strokes. I mentioned some health problems. I got 280 plus pounds. I was fat. Own it, right? I was fat. I let myself go. I didn't care about myself, and I just did not take care of my body in any way. And I paid for it. I had a couple of strokes. But the same techniques that helped me get sober, the same mindset and the same overcoming this chemistry that got me to where I am in being sober, got me to 190 pounds and in fairly good shape, right? For an old man, I've got abs. The reason I'm telling you this again is not a brag. It's because if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I'm not a junkie, I'm not a drunk. These techniques and these tools, this equipment that we're talking about can be used for any aspect of life. And I'm not a guru, right? Gurus don't exist. They're not out there. They don't exist. However, if you can find people smarter than yourself and take a little bit from this person, and a little bit from that person, and a little bit from this person, and take these techniques and put them together, you can come up with a game plan that really will let you live your best life. And that's what this show is about. It's not just addiction to drugs or alcohol, but if you're overweight, any of the things that keep you from being your best can be attacked through these techniques. So we're going to get through story time and we're going to get to these things. But in the meantime, man, own your successes. Be proud of who you are. And you know who I'm talking to from yesterday's story. I'm so proud of you. You beat rock cocaine. That was a tough thing to beat. And I assure you, my brother, there wasn't too much luck involved in it. We're all lucky that you did it. You're not lucky that you did it. You understand? Okay, now, when we left off yesterday, I was starting to rob banks. I'm going to tell you some things about bank robbery because they're germane to what we're talking about. Don't go out and try to rob a bank. You're going to get caught. You're going to go to prison. And some of the things that I tell you, the people who try to keep people from robbing banks continually come up with new technology and new techniques. And I'm telling you right now, the things that I did, you could never get away with now. Keep in mind and listen carefully. If you're in the life and you're doing drugs, there's nowhere in America you're not on camera, right? Those days are over. There's no place you're not on camera. So this is not a how to rob a bank session, right? Please don't mistake any of this. The reason I'm going over this is for two reasons. Number one, I have to own everything that I was, or I will be it again. And I want you to realize that if I can sink to this level of depravity and then come back and have a successful life and be happy, you can do it with some weight loss, some issues you're having with your wife or your kids. These techniques work for everything. The bank robberies, there are three things that the banks do to make sure that they can catch you. Number one, they have what's called a bait pack of money, right? That bait pack is just 10 or 15 bills where they recorded the serial numbers. Now, the funny thing is, it has a paperclip around it, right? So this is not a difficult thing to overcome. The second is a die pack. And in the movies, it's a great big spray can about this big, right? First of all, a lot of banks don't even use them. I robbed banks where I never saw them. But when they actually do them, they cut out the face of the bills on a stack. Right? So if it's $100 bills, and they're not going to destroy a pack of $100 bills, but if it were, that would be $10,000. If it would be 50s, right? They just continue to go down because the stacks are always 100 bills. But they punch cut out the faces of the president, and they put the little die pack disc inside there. And more often than not, it's on a proximity sensor. So when it gets far enough away from the teller, it's going to explode. Boom. And ink goes everywhere. So to overcome that, it was just a matter of bending the bills, right? The long-standing joke was that if it doesn't bend, it doesn't spend, right? So if you go to bend each stack, so, I wouldn't say fill the bag. I would say put the money on the counter for a couple of reasons. If anyone was watching and someone's just setting money up, it doesn't look like a girl stuffing a bag full of money, which definitely looked like a bank robbery. I always went to a female teller because I didn't want there to be a macho thing with a guy that thought he could take me. I always went to a female teller, and I usually tried to go to a merchant teller because they usually had more money. So these were techniques that I started to learn. And I'm not telling you this so you can rob a bank. I'm telling you this because I got to a point where I was researching things on robbing banks to make sure that I could get away with it. That shows a level of depravity where if you said, like my casino robbery, I walk by, I see it, it's there, and I go, screw it, I'm doing this. the average human being can understand that. You may not understand it at a level that you would do it, but you could see how somebody sees something and thinks, I can get away with this. That is a different level of screwing up than I'm going to go to a library and use the internet to start researching bank robberies. That's so far gone. That is the addiction taking over the brain and doing things that anybody with any kind of logic would say, I'm not doing that, that's stupid. You understand? Okay. The last thing was the tracer bill. And the tracer bill is literally an electronic device put in a bill that's thicker than a normal bill, but you hold it up to the light and you can see that there's a little battery in there, small battery, and there's a little sensor. And when it gets pulled out from the drawer, it activates. And now the people in the police cars will flip a switch, and they can start following this thing, like a homing device, and go right to the hotel you're staying at, or right to the hideout, and come and bust you. So you can try soaking that bill in water. You can try wrapping it in aluminum foil. You can put it in film cases. That does actually work, or used to. Nothing works anymore, by the way. The techniques now can't be beat. I'm telling you the truth. But back then, what I was doing was throwing them in a microwave oven. And I would keep a little inverter, I kept nothing, but get a little inverter from Radio Shack, plug it to the cigarette lighter, it gives you an outlet. Plug that into a microwave oven, small little ones you get for $10 at a pawn shop, and put it on the front seat of the car. And I would get in, throw the bag of money in there, crank it on, and drive away. I would drive away in a stolen car. I always stole the same kind of car, the same color. And then I would go and get a front plate off of another car of the same color and put that on the back of the stolen vehicle, so that if a cop pulled it up, it would say Black Dodge Durango, right? Wouldn't come up stolen. And how often do you look at your front plate when you get into your car, right? You just get in and go. I knew by the time any of this happened, I would be out of town. And I say out of town because I didn't defecate where I ate. You know what I mean? So I started to really learn what I was doing. And I wore rudimentary makeup, a cheap makeup kit, but it had facial hair you could glue on with something called spirit gum. I would take double-sided tape and put 3 strips on your head and glue on a wig. And I had some ridiculously close calls. I had some things that are so funny, and I'll tell you some of them down the road. I don't want to really ever glorify this. Movies do that every day, right? Movies make bank robbers these cool guys, right? Who do a job for $5 million, and then they do another one in a couple of years, and they get together and they look like Brad Pitt. And you know what? That ain't it. That's not what happens. They are people who are so desperate in life that they're willing to risk everything for the next fix. Are you getting what I'm talking about? I'm not here to glorify my past. I'm here to own it. But there were funny things that happened, and hindsight being 2020 and looking through that lens, I robbed a bank, and I used to really take time, and I would case the place, and I would drive around, and I would check the neighborhoods. I wanted to make sure that there was a place I could park the getaway car, because the getaway car was not the stolen car. Oh, by the way, I'm not a gone in 60 seconds guy, right? I don't know how to steal a car. I had to find one with an open door, and then I would pound the flathead screwdriver into the ignition with a hammer and just start cranking it and yanking back and forth until the brake on the lock on the wheel would break away and I could drive. Definitely not talented in too much of what I did. I just learned enough to get by. But I would really case neighborhoods, but the farther you get into it, you start getting lazy and you start breaking your own rules. Well, I did a bank that I had not researched very well, and people are going to laugh about this, but it was really close to a donut shop. No joke, right? And because of that, not being funny, police do like to hang out at donut shops. And so I went in and I robbed this bank, and I came out and I jumped into the car, and I was getting ready to leave, and I opened the door of the microwave and I threw the money in and I cranked it on. And as I'm putting the car into drive, a police car comes screeching in and pulls up directly in front of the Durango. And then another one comes in and pulls up directly behind it. And they've got me hemmed in. I can't leave. And I think, this is it, right? This wasn't my first bank. I thought, well, the ride's over, right? So what did I do? I did what anybody else in their right mind would have done. And by right mind, as much of a right mind as you could have. I'm not carrying a weapon. I used to go in and just say, give me all of the money, top drawer, bottom drawer. If they started looking terrified, I would say, hey, I don't have a weapon, relax. It doesn't, you didn't need a weapon. If you ask for the money, they give it to you. That's how they're instructed. And you can look all of that up too. Don't do this. You can't get away with them anymore. There's no place on this planet you're not on film, right? The days of what I did are long, long gone. But I did what anybody half in their right mind would do. I went like this, right? I put both hands up. And these cops jumped out of their cars and ran into the bank. So here I am, right, in the car, and both cops go running in, and the cars are just, I put it in reverse, I backed up a foot, I put it in drive and drove off, shaking like a leaf, literally. I drove away, but it's one of those stories that when you look back in hindsight, it's really, really funny. And there are a couple of others that will get you laughing, but I'll tell them at a later date, maybe during story time, because the purpose of what I'm doing right now is not to glorify anything about what I was doing, because there was nothing cool about it. It was, and I hope I'm getting this across, what it takes to reach that level of I don't care anymore. Nobody in their right mind would do this. That's such a great expression, right? Who in their right mind would? Well, nobody in their right mind would. So what does that mean? It means I was so not in my right mind. My mind was owned by opiates. And when you understand how that brain chemistry works, you're going to go, wow, because that really is exactly what's happening. Your brain is being run by a small section of your brain that handles other things that you can't control, like your heart beating, right? Your eyes blinking. They don't teach you things like this in rehab because rehab has a design in mind. They have a goal, and that goal is for them to win and get paid. Whether it's by you, your insurance company, the state, they don't care if what they're doing is the best for you. They just want to get you out the door and get the next person in. So what they want to do is blame it on mom and dad, blame it on anyone else, because the first thing that's going to kill you if you really are going to start to get sober and live that life, what's going to kill you first and foremost isn't even the desire for the drug. Truthfully, you may not believe me, guilt. Guilt is a killer. So what they do is they make sure you put that guilt on somebody else. You're not. It's not your fault. It's a disease. And that disease causes this to happen. You can't be blamed. Guess what? You can be blamed. I can be blamed. Is it a disease? You betcha. You bet it is. It is a disease, and it is a disease of choice. I have a daughter. My daughter's a heroin addict. She doesn't know that. I mean, she does know that. She's never put a needle in her arm, and she never will. She knows from the mindset that she comes from someone who has such a problem with drugs that there's no chance genetically she doesn't have that same makeup. Honestly, that's how this works. So is it absolutely a genetic thing? Absolutely, it is. That doesn't mean that one person may not be able to drink. Dad was an alcoholic. They're not. Those things happen, but they're anomalies. They really are. It is a disease, but it's a disease of choice. If mom and dad are both alcoholics and you never pick up a beer, you chose not to be an alcoholic. If it's like diabetes, you can be born with diabetes, or you can eat yourself to 400 pounds, live a terrible lifestyle, and get a form of diabetes, right? There are different ways to view this. Is it a disease? Absolutely. But it's a disease you better own. Because if you do not own it, if you do not realize that it was your fault and could get over that, then that guilt is going to drive you back to what you were doing. And that's the problem with rehab models today. They want to succeed and they'll do it the easiest way possible. The trouble with that is this. 4 or 5 years down the road, it may actually occur to you that it was your fault. It may actually occur to you that mom and dad didn't ruin you. The birth of this whole concept was when I was in prison, and every single place I went said, well, your mother and father, had they raised you better? Huh? Good Lord, I ate every meal with my family, right? Every meal until I was probably 17. My parents went to every one of my sporting events. We went to church every single Sunday. Where did they screw up? Well, the answer is they didn't. I screwed up. I own it. And I suggest that you do the same. It's essential going forward that you understand everything there is to know about this disease. We're going to teach it here. I promise you, you're going to know all of it. It is a disease, and it's a disease that you can beat. They don't like it when you say that. But it is a disease you can beat. And I promise you something else. The one day at a time thing is awesome when you get started, but I don't live my life one day at a time anymore. I really don't. I'm making plans down the road, and I can tell you right now that 60 days from today, I'm going to be sober. In the beginning, admittedly, all I could tell you was that I'm going to be sober today. I'm going to be sober tomorrow. I'm going to be sober Friday. I'm going to be sober Christmas. I'm going to be sober the next Christmas. There are tools you're going to learn how to use that can give you the kind of confidence that you need to live your life that way, so that you're not white knuckling it, because that's no way to live. Keep coming back. Watch what we do. And I think you're going to be surprised. Again, I'm no guru, but I have stolen enough from so many excellent different models that I think we got a killer plan in place. So keep coming back to the Tommy Scoville Show. Tomorrow, Tommy gets busted, and the bank robbery comes to an end, and you're going to find out some about federal prison, and really where everything starts taking shape is in the next video. I'm sorry this is 22 minutes long, 23 minutes long. There are people who say, make it as long as you want, we'll watch. I honestly don't believe that's the case. For those of you who are not unhappy, that's great. For those of you who are, I'm sorry. Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. I love every one of you. I really do. Those of you leaving comments, appreciate the thumbs up. You can give me a thumbs down. If you're not liking it, if I'm making a mistake, let me know. You have my email address. God bless all of you. And remember, and I mean this, the best is yet to come. I'm Tommy Scoville. This is the Tommy Scoville Show.